In the last video, we talked about workplace stress when you have a job. In this video, I want to talk about workplace stress when you're an entrepreneur. Now, some people think if I quit my job and start my own business, then I'm not going to be under quite so much stress. Well, that's not entirely true because while you might be immune from the office politics or the backbiting and you might not have a difficult boss to deal with, there are still other things that make entrepreneurs stress. And running your business can, in some ways, be even more stressful than having a job and working for somebody else. Let's take a look at some of the things that make entrepreneurs stressed. First of all, there's unpredictability and risk. When you run your own business, quite often you never know what's going to be around the corner. There could be some sort of problem that's going to come straight out of the blue that you don't know about that could affect the viability of your business, and that can be very stressful. Entrepreneurs also get stressed out over their finances, especially cash flow. All it takes is a couple of big clients to not pay you or to drag out payments for several months that can really start to play havoc with your cash flow, especially if you've got an overdraft or you're on some other form of financing. Then that can really be very stressful because you don't know if you're going to have enough money to pay the bills. Dealing with clients can be very stressful as well. You need to try and find out what the client wants, and sometimes the client really doesn't know what he wants, but he expects you to know what he wants. Dealing with subcontractors, that can be very stressful as well because you've got to explain to your subcontractor exactly what you want so that they can do exactly the job that you want. Information overload is another big problem for entrepreneurs. You're constantly getting bombarded with information, people sending you emails, letters, phone calls. You're constantly reading up on stuff, and sometimes, the information just gets to be too much. Launching new products or new projects, now that can be incredibly stressful because, once again, going back to the first point, there's the big risk involved. What if it flops? You're going to lose a lot of money. What if something goes wrong in the manufacturing process? What if something goes wrong down the line? All these different things that can happen when you're launching a new product or in starting a new project that can be very, very stressful. And of course, there's maintaining a work-life balance, especially if you're working from home. You're working from your home office. Let's say you're working over the internet from your computer. When you're at home, you're at work, and when you're at work, you're at home. And so that can be very stressful, trying to balance those two things off one against the other. Now, of course, a lot of people say, well, don't entrepreneurs thrive on stress? Well, yes, they thrive on good stress. Some of them will describe themselves as adrenaline junkies. They really like to have that good fix of adrenaline, that short burst of good stress. But they're as vulnerable to the side effects of bad stress as everybody else. And unfortunately, not everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur. And sometimes you don't know that you're not cut out to be an entrepreneur until you actually try to be an entrepreneur and find that you can't do it. And that in itself is very, very stressful. So, how do you overcome entrepreneurial stress? Well, there are a few ways that you can do that. First and foremost, you want to stay focused. Stay focused on your business and what the objective for your business is. And a good way to stay focused is to unsubscribe from any unnecessary email lists. You're constantly being bombarded with email all the time, and it can be very distracting, and it can sort of take you off topic. So a good way to stay focused is to make sure that you only receive email from the people that are going to be directly helpful to your business, and do away with everything else. Another good way to avoid stress is to build a team from the start. No man and no woman are an island. You need other people around you to help you to build your business. So when you put in a team from the start and you all start working together and you get on well and you're able to build the business up, then that can be very useful and very helpful, and it helps you to share the stress amongst other people, if nothing else. You're not putting it all on yourself. Another way is to put in systems, to have ways of doing things so you don't have to constantly reinvent the wheel, so that if you do this, you're going to get that result. And that can be very, very helpful because it takes out the uncertainty. And of course, uncertainty can be very stressful. Another thing to do is to prioritize. And prioritizing, saying, yes, this is important and that's not important, so that can wait. So keeping your priorities, not giving everything equal weight, can cut down on stress. And finally, KISS, which stands for Keep It Simple, Stupid. Lots of people try to make things very, very complicated when it doesn't need to be. So the simpler you can make something, the easier you can make something, the less stressful you can make something.